There we go. Yay! It started setting up the meeting. I never know when it like dumps you in. There we go. Oh my gosh, okay. This is great. So we are live. I did send out a reminder. I sent out an email. So I'm not sure how many people can jump on at this time of day, but I know that we had, I think 19 people signed up that wanted to go or that were going. So we'll see either way.
Yay!
Oops,
It
let me
started
turn the
setting
sound off. Okay. And so I've got the live chat on, so we'll be ready for any questions that happen. So why don't you go ahead and take it away? Let me just introduce Cynthia Pacheco of Digital Bloom IQ is my SEO person. I am a part of her membership, which I highly recommend. We'll have to put, if you don't mind, at some point putting that link in there for us, or I will, because I have a link for you. And it's been so valuable. Before we jump into it, I just want to make sure everyone knows how valuable it is because it's a membership. So we get to show up. We have like work sessions where, honest to goodness, Cynthia, I think I've gotten so many more blog posts
Me
just by
too.
having time. And then the Q&A sessions where I can ask any question about SEO for my business and how I want to work. And Cynthia has the ability in her to describe things that are so tech heavy into a way that I can understand them, which is really your magic strength, your superpower. So we'll go ahead and talk about that a little bit later. As Cynthia goes through some of the presentation, I'll be jumping in, she'll be jumping in. If you have questions, throw them in the chat and we will answer them either in the middle or toward the end, depending on what makes sense. And I will go ahead and let you take it away.
Awesome. Yes, I'm really excited about this talk today because there's so many reasons why SEO, and we'll talk about if you've never heard of SEO, you've heard of it, but you're not sure what it means exactly. But there's so many parallels to SEO and Pinterest. And so whether you're learning with Jen about Pinterest or you're learning, side by side both things, it's just really beneficial to have both kind of realms of knowledge happening. And so my goal with today's training is to really give you kind of like a vision for how to double down and do both Pinterest and SEO in a way that's not taking double the time. It's actually going even faster. And some of the parallel tasks. And I'm sure Jen, maybe at the end too, you'll have some comments and questions because I'm not the Pinterest expert here. But I think that it's just interesting how there's like these parallels, right, between doing Pinterest and SEO. So we're going to cover a little bit about SEO. If you've never heard of it or you've heard of it, you haven't done it, even if you're kind of more seasoned SEO, it's great to kind of go back to basics. We're going to go into like the pillars of SEO, and then we're going to dive into like, how can we look at these two types of marketing and kind of combine our actions? And a lot of people don't know this, right? And they just think, oh, like I'm doing Pinterest, I'm doing SEO, and there's actually things you can replicate and duplicate across platforms and just things to keep in mind, right? Because we're thinking about driving traffic from Pinterest to our site or from Google to our site. And there's these just similar tasks that get done across platforms. Then I'm going to share just some tools that I think are interesting to, again, speed up the process. And there's so many fantastic tools nowadays to like just make things so much easier. And then at the end, there's a little surprise, like Jen mentioned, I have a membership. So I'm going to be just sharing a little bit there with a little bonus for everybody in Jen's community. So, hey, I'm Cynthia. If you've never met me before, it's great to be here. And if you're watching the replay, also feel free to play along, put your questions in the chat. I'm gonna, Jen, please let me know if there's any like follow-up questions too. I'm happy to share. And so I love to help female founders get found in Google and change the world. This is like my mission. And specifically with SEO, I feel like it's one of those marketing channels that in particular women owned businesses shy away from because they think it's technical. They think it's complicated. It's overwhelming. And it's just such a big way to attract people who are already looking for what you have. So different, right, than social media. And so why not diversify? And it doesn't have to be complicated. So SEO stands for search engine optimization, and that does sound quite technical and kind of, robotic. But it's basically the act of making your website more human and Google friendly. And so the idea here is that we are setting the stage for humans and for Google to find our site, to understand what our sites are about, and to take that traffic and convert it to profitable money, whatever opportunities. If you're looking for speaking engagements, you can do SEO strategy for speaking, for, affiliate opportunities. There's just so many different ways. It doesn't always have to be selling necessarily something. It could be to grow your email list. So it can turn into different opportunities that creates visibility, and it creates, opportunities. All right, so some of the pillars of SEO, and we're not going to go into all of these. The one, I guess, that's the most important would be the keywords and content. But okay, let's go in order. So the first one is technical and UX UI. So what this means is that our sites are made of code. And so Google, one of the things that Google looks at is like, how is that code functioning? So is your website taking a long time to load? Do you have like a lot of broken links and deleted pages? What's the overall experience of your online home? Like, do you have a neon green navigation menu? And I've recently seen one of these like neon colored, and it's like, why? Like, that's not, unless you're selling tennis balls or something, like you don't need that. That hurts your eyes. So thinking about the experience of our site is really important. And so this is one of the pillars of getting ranked in Google and having other humans find us online. The second one, like I mentioned, is going to be the most relevant to this training, is keywords and content. So what is our ideal audience searching before they find our course, our services, the problem that we're solving for them? So whether you sell a product or you're a service-based business, we want to be connecting with people who are already looking for what we have to offer. So those are called transactional searches. So they're already looking for Pinterest course, for example, in Jen's case, or they're researching, right? So they're finding information about that, and they're trying to find information about before they might not even be aware there's something to buy yet, but they're finding information, right? So those are different types of searches that we can try to understand what those searches are, and then add them intentionally and create a content strategy around those types of searches. Kind of similar to Pinterest, right? People use Pinterest to look for things, to find solutions to things. And so that's one of the parallels between Pinterest and SEO. And then the last is authority building. So here we're talking about how other sites are mentioning and other brands are mentioning our website. And this is also important because we don't want to be an island. We want to be mentioned. We want to be followed. And so again, this is part of SEO, and it doesn't get talked about a lot sometimes, but there's just ways for us to actively be looking for these mentions and these links. So in this training, I want to cover the differences and the parallels and why we can combine some of the tasks, because we're all really busy. We have a ton of things going on. So how can we save time and money and energy basically with the work we do, especially if you're like a solopreneur, or even if you have a small team, right? Like, how can you save money with your team and give them a workflow that they're targeting both Pinterest and SEO? So here, just like a quick breakdown of the differences. So both of them are search engines. I know Pinterest sometimes gets called social media, but it's not quite the same. It's more of a search engine or a visual discovery engine. And people do look for information, inspiration, ideas, and visual discovery. So one of the biggest differences, and this is the second row, is just the visual experience of Pinterest. And yes, Google does have videos and images, but it's just not quite the same, right? And when we think about going to Pinterest, we are very much thinking about that visual element and the pins and the boards and all that, right?
And I'll
Um,
jump in. I'll jump in
yes,
real quick because
yes, I want you to jump in. Yes.
I'm a, I'm a big talker about search marketing and social media marketing. People are
Yes.
starting to get their heads around that. And search marketing, the three big ones for search marketing is YouTube, Google, and Pinterest. And because Google owns YouTube, they're like brother and sister, if you will. And I always refer to Pinterest as the cousin, right?
Right.
Because it's all about finding new eyeballs. And with search marketing, people are intent on finding the information that you're offering. They're going and searching on these different search platforms for information they need right now. Where people tend to go on social media to see what their friends are doing or to post something or get lost in the scroll, like I always say, where the intention for search marketing is to find the information that we're offering. So yeah, perfect. Awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting how all platforms, if we look across all the platforms, a lot of their um the trend or what we've been seeing is that they want you to stay on that platform. So Pinterest wants you to stay on that platform. Google has gotten smarter and smarter of like, how can we show like pieces of information in the search results? And same with like Instagram and stuff like that. So as marketers for our businesses, we need to be smart and not ignore that fact. Use it to our advantage and be smart ourselves, right? About how we're taking that free platform, right? Because they're all free. And we're using that for people to come to our site and to eventually make that step. So we don't want to ignore that. And so we're always looking at, both of us as experts, how the platforms are evolving. And Google has made so many, like now I think you can like watch YouTube videos from the search results page and it like skips ahead to the section and stuff like that. So I want to mention that because I think it's just interesting to think about how these platforms have evolved and how people are looking for answers to those questions. But, and even things like AI and ChatGPT, right? Which I've been having some discussions with other SEOs where like people aren't going to search in Google for information because they have ChatGPT. And I'm like, but people want to connect with other humans. Oh
And
my
that's
God.
only till 2021. It's not even current information yet. I mean, I know
Yeah.
they're getting better, they're adding more,
Mhm.
but it's
Yeah.
not current information. So
Yeah.
yeah, they keep giving me hashtags for Pinterest stuff. So I know it's not effective.
Yeah, no, anyway, that's a whole other discussion. Maybe that's our next training. But I guess yeah, so moving on. So a lot of the personalization in Google comes from what you've searched in the past. Obviously, if you're like in a location and you're looking for like a local based business, and so with Pinterest, they look at your interests, who you're already following, and then other pins, I guess. Google doesn't have any social aspect. It has kind of changed. Like there is some interaction. I think you can give feedback a little bit from the search results page now. You can like, is this relevant and stuff, but it's very minimal if we compare to, Pinterest, where you can follow, you can share, you can comment. Although correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, but this isn't as a big part of a strategy. Like if you're, well, you should be sharing others people's stuff, but it's not like a huge thing.
No, and in fact, the focus really is on your content, and you can share other people's content as it makes sense, and you're
Yeah.
providing good additional information that you agree with
Yeah.
for your community, but there's
Mhm.
not as many like conversations even in the messages.
Huh,
Of course, Pinterest wants us to focus on saves, but what we're focusing on is those outbound clicks that go to our
exactly.
content. So we
Mhm.
have to kind of give and take every once in a while. And,
Yeah,
any analytics are good analytics. There's not like focus on this and not on this because
yeah,
Pinterest wants us to do this.
yeah.
We're gonna give them what they want so we can get what we want.
Same thing with Google. It's like a constant
Yes.
negotiation. But hey,
Well,
they're
and I think that that is similar too, in that we are giving Google and Pinterest what they want, so they share our information more. But the information we're putting on there is for our ideal client to find and have it resonate with. So
yeah.
it's always a dual situation if you're being smart in your content.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, they're incredibly powerful platforms. And I didn't put in here, but maybe for another training is like this idea of social versus search, of like the beauty of both Google and Pinterest is they kind of work, they're working all the time of like targeting that person who's already looking for what you have to offer. So they work so well with online offerings where you don't need to be present. You're just always selling basically, and you're always attracting those people for free.
And if you're on both platforms, it actually gives you a boost in your visibility and your expertise. When someone searches your name on Google and it comes up with Pinterest and it comes up with your blog and it makes you look more of as a serious professional as well. So there's that
Absolutely.
benefit.
Yeah. And then finally, as we've already been talking about, Pinterest is very visual, and Google is sort of getting like they've got some aspects, but let's say it's more text and links, and that's why people go to Google, right? They want the text. I actually sometimes just like skip. I don't want to see a video, like I just want to see a text instruction. So that's interesting as well to think about.
Yeah, because videos have been popping up first,
Yeah.
whether you ask for a video or not.
Yeah.
And I also like to scroll past the sponsored ones and get to the get to the other content and see what's out there. But yeah,
Yeah, no, it's so interesting. Okay, so these are some of the tasks that I feel can be combined and recycled, but Jen, I'd love you to also share your perspective. So I'll go through, I've got a few slides here. So the first one to me that's very interesting is keyword research. And I know how you do keyword research for Pinterest is different than SEO, because in SEO, we've got a lot of tools that will tell us, statistically what people are searching. Of course, these tools aren't um they're accurate, but they're not meant to be used like in a way where it's like, oh, this is an exact match. And so if you use two tools, you'll usually get a different number. So there's statistics, they're like ranges and trends. But we do see in a lot of the tools we use for SEO, like what people are searching, how competitive it is, how much money people are spending on ads, which can also be an indicator of just how competitive and how popular that keyword is. And so in my mind, there's an opportunity there to either start in Pinterest or start in Google, and then kind of flip over to the other platform and see if there's a version of that. And so that will go into the next step, which goes into how you create content, right? And how you structure your content. Do you feel that's accurate, Jen?
yes.
Yeah, so keyword research can definitely be a great starting point for everybody, because you just understand, okay, what are people searching, right? And how am I connecting with that need? And then coming up, right, is the content, and obviously creating pins around that content. So I don't know how you work this, Jen, but I think a really smart way to do this would be to sit down, have your podcast, have your blog, have whatever you're creating, and then divide that up and actually have it be different pins, that you can either just take snippets of information from that blog post. Obviously, you could just have the title of the post and just have different pins. But if you wanted to make the pins more actionable, like could some of them be like an infographic, or could it be one like paragraph and take it and make it visual. And so here I put like quotes, tips, or images that you're taking from one blog. So you don't need to sit down and be like, okay, what do I pin about? You already have the content. You're just creating a lot of pins around that piece of content, and then you're pointing that to your site, right? So to me, when
Yeah.
I say, just to be clear, SEO content, it can be, a lot of people get weird with the word blog, but let's just say a useful page on your site. It could be podcast, it could be other experts you interview to do a guest roundup. It just anything that's information that you can then make into several different pins.
Yes, and actually, what I do and how I educate in my group coaching membership is to create 3 to 5 pins and to put it on the bottom of your blog. And I have a title above those pins that I
Right,
say, pin it for later or save it to your
right.
Pinterest for later.
Mhm.
And then when I have my pinning sessions once a week for about an hour, I
Right,
go to my most recent blogs and I just pull from them, just
right.
automatically pull them. It
Ah,
pulls the photos. You want to use different titles than
right,
what's on the graphic or what the blog post is. So you're using the keywords from Pinterest for that.
right,
But then I'm using all of those keywords in the blog for Google to get its SEO.
right, right. So I
And
could
also
totally,
by the video, I put a video. If I make an infographic, I put that in there. I make the quotes all the time. Those always get seen. Not as much traffic to my website, but a lot of saves, which
mhm,
makes Pinterest happy.
right,
So yeah, and same is holds true for a lead magnet, right? A lot of people have those lead magnet signups within ConvertKit or whatever they use. I highly recommend you have a landing page on your website where you suck in that information for them to put their name and email in there because you want that traffic. You don't want to give it to ConvertKit. That's the
absolutely.
only thing that I will say. Just making that small change, I increased my traffic by about 20% a few years ago.
Wow. Well, yeah, because someone could like land on that. Well, like they could come from Pinterest or SEO, and then they could click around even more, right? And get to know you instead of
Yep.
leaving and go doing something
Oh, yes. Yes, yes,
else.
yes.
Another kind of area that I thought a little bit about was the category and tag strategy that we talk a lot about in SEO, and then board organization, which I know is a whole thing. We're not going to get into it in this training, but part of a Pinterest strategy is like having your boards, targeting keywords, blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah.
in SEO, there's these category and tag pages, which are basically ways that we can organize and slice and dice our content, and share with Google what are the different categories and tags, themes, topics that we talk about on our website. So for me, for example, I talk a lot about SEO, but I also talk about Google Analytics. I talk about content creation. I have a podcast where I bring on different marketing experts. So I just digital marketing. So these are different categories that I label my content with. And so this is a way that I can get found. And sometimes it's a strategy to get found in something that maybe you're not a direct expert in. So I could get found if I had a category for Pinterest marketing, because I've interviewed different Pinterest. Jen, I need to have you on the podcast, not as the testimonial, as like a Pinterest expert. um,
I
so
know
I
that you
can,
work with Jana too, so no worries. But yeah, I call that stumble upon content, right? It's the
yes,
content we're touching upon, and then it gets people to see your expertise and go, "Oh yeah, I need that." Right?
totally. Yeah, no, it's really cool. It's like, and so this is like another, I'd say this is like a little more advanced, but I wanted to give some meaty ideas for people who are kind of like, okay, now what? Now what? It's like, okay, take some of your boards, look at your category and tags. Like, is there something that's missing on both sides? And from the SEO side specifically, like what is the experience of those category and tag pages? Could you add a little bit of text at the top to make it a little more personalized? Is the formatting easy to view? Is it, usually we just use like whatever template the website builder creates for us. But if there is some customization just to make it a little bit nicer, that's like a great direction to go. And then going back and doing keyword research as well can be kind of like a direction.
Yeah, I just updated all of my categories for my blogs because I had like personal on there, which I am not focusing on any personal blogs. I had how to, and instead I'm doing like marketing and content creation and like all the different buckets. And so that's a really point, because I do tell people when you start looking for boards, start with the categories you have your blogs on, because you typically are grouping your blogs in categories typically on your website. And it's a great place to start with boards. You want to go to Pinterest and do some analytic research to make sure that the keywords are the words that people are searching for. But other than that, the concept and the base SEO stuff, it comes in super handy for us as we do our research on Pinterest.
Yeah, no, it gets overlooked. And I'd say it's like, it goes a little down the line once you have a nice set of content, because when you're starting out, you don't have like super many categories. You're just kind of like starting with your blogs, but you want to start, if you are starting, it's great if you have time to like start with a good strategy out the gate, because all this stuff builds up. It's like compound interest, it just makes such a big difference.
Yes.
All right. And then the last part, which I think is just so important and it doesn't get talked about a lot. And so we're sending this traffic. We have Pinterest, sending us traffic. We have SEO sending us traffic. We're looking at our data, our analytics, and we're seeing traffic. And, clients and students come and they're like, I'm not generating any sales. It's like, okay, but like, what is your website doing to generate the sales, right? So it's not about the traffic. Yes, the traffic is one component, because without traffic, we can't have sales, but we need to make sure that this high quality traffic of people who are looking for us is really being ushered into our beautiful online home in a way that, is inspiring those next steps. So whether it is a sale or is it to sign up to our email list. So you want to make sure that each page that you're specifically sending traffic to, which I call a landing page, has a clear call to action. That's a CTA. So you want to think about, from the visitor's point of view, what's the natural next step that you want someone to take when they land on that page. It shouldn't feel random. Obviously,
it shouldn't be like 3 different options right there at the top of the page. That's analysis paralysis.
Yeah, it's kind of like inviting someone over for tea and then like offering them like a hot dog or something. It's like, what? Like, why? Like, I wanted a scone, right? So you want to think about, if you're giving them, like, for example, I have a keyword guide for health and wellness. So my call to action on that page is actually a list of keywords that people can download. That's free. And it could be a paid thing too, but see how that's like a very natural, they're struggling with their keywords. Here's some keywords to get started. So again, if you don't have to have an opt-in for each landing page, that's a lot, but you want to think about, if you are pitching the newsletter, have a little bit of custom text. Don't just slap on the opt-in form for the newsletter. Be like, okay, we just talked about Pinterest keywords. I send a lot of tips in my newsletter about Pinterest keywords. Here you can sign up, right? So try to make it a little bit personalized. It doesn't take you that long. And having it be to start on these specific landing pages. So we have a lot of blog content over time. I know, Jen, you probably have tons. I have tons. So focus on the ones that you are wanting to be those like high performing pages, and those are going to be enough, right? And then we have in the footer, we have like other places where people can opt in with us. Another thing that again gets missed a lot is, and this kind of goes back to the first thing, is keyword research, is we're not really connecting our keywords with what we want people to do, right? We're just focusing on keywords that have a lot of volume but aren't connected with our offers. So again, this is an opportunity to go back a step and to think about, like for me, like I have an SEO membership. A lot of times people don't even have SEO on their radar when they are searching, right? They're wanting to grow their business, or they're wanting to take more time off, or they just became a mom and so they don't have the time they had as before. So thinking about that journey, right? And thinking about, how do I get from someone searching, like, how do I run my business with less time or something, and then deciding, okay, I'm going to invest in SEO membership because it's going to allow me to spend more time at home. So you want to really think about that connection and that journey, and not just for the paid stuff, but for the opt-ins, for everything, like doing a little bit of that market research, and creating also a search persona, right? So thinking about where is that person at in their business? Have they, what are the different touch points? And that can be helpful to also finding the right keywords, and for creating keyword content that's profitable. Sharing the email list in as many places as possible. I already mentioned this. So it needs to be intentional, but you do really want to get it in there a lot because people are distracted, and you could have it 3 places in a long blog post. Why not, right? If it's relevant. And then lastly, the internal linking. So we talk a lot about this in the membership, in the course. Having pages linked to each other can help a lot with SEO. And so you can have a strategy around that, so that you're linking between similar content and helpful pages.
A couple things I'd love to point out on this. This is such a good slide. On blog posts, everybody should be having 3 other blog posts on the bottom around the same topic if you have that content. So like, I know with WordPress, when I add a blog, I can choose the categories. So if I'm talking about content, I'm going to select the content one, so that those blog posts, and all I say is, here's more tips in this area. And then I have the 3 different blog posts. When I've instituted that on every single blog about a year and a half ago, the time that people spend on my blogs are longer now, because it gets them in a loop, which is what Google wants from us. And in turn, my analytics have grown from it. Thanks for your help. The other thing is, I get people coming to me time and time again and say, I tried Pinterest a couple years ago and it just didn't work. I didn't book any clients. But how do you know? Like, are you looking at the analytics of how many people went from Pinterest to your content, your website, or whatever it is that you're doing? And then, getting people to your content, that is Pinterest's only job. Your job is to make sure that your website or the content that you have converts people. So you can't blame Pinterest for not booking clients. And then when you dive into the fact that most people are going to not immediately sign up with you after seeing your pin for the first time. They're going to look at your content. They may think it's good. They may save the pin. And then more often than not, they're going to Instagram and they're going to stalk you for a little bit. And then by the time that they reach out to you and you ask them how they found you, they're going to say Instagram, because that's where they made the decision to actually reach out. So, I really do want to point out that website optimization is not optional. Like, I know we sometimes throw it together because it's a big job, but we do have to continuously, month by month, update it or make it better, or add things to it as you learn more about SEO. So it's not a one and done situation, your website, at all.
I think the issue is, Jen, that not a lot of experts talk about that. We're all like, we talk a lot about the strategies to attract the traffic, but then we forget to be like, okay, but now like that traffic has to do something. And so I think also business owners, It's like, it's a balance, right? But absolutely, like that's the point of all this, is like, how are we getting someone into our world? And then if they end up,
making them stick.
and all, yeah, it's like, I think we forget that it's called first and last touch, right? So how someone finds us, is it usually not the way they actually end up buying from us, and that's totally normal. We don't want to change that. It's kind of like the ecosystem of our brand and our business.
That
So we
know,
need
like,
to
and
be,
trust marketing situation. Yes.
exactly, yeah. So we don't want to put expectations on Pinterest or on SEO to necessarily convert. I mean, in some cases you
We're
might get that
hopeful.
first touch,
Yeah.
maybe, but that's why we're very clear of like, that first touch is we're attracting people into our world, then we're getting them on our emailing list, or we're getting them to follow us on Instagram, and then that's maturing, and then they end up buying from maybe our email list or whatever. So it's very clear. And in Google Analytics, there is actually reporting that shows you first versus last touch conversion, so you can filter it and you can see the visits that did convert eventually, even though they came from SEO first or Pinterest, and then what was the last touch, so where did they actually come from before they bought. So it's important to like, it's kind of like my favorite analogy for this is definitely like a sports team. Just pick any sports team, like a sports, like there's different types of players, right? And not all players make goals or make points. That doesn't mean they're not good, right? They just have different role. And so some players are, I like basketball, so some players are good at passing the ball or defending. So those players, the reason they exist is to like allow the players that do make points to
Look
happen.
good. Oh,
So
fine.
that's the way you want to think about it, because otherwise it's very linear, and that's just not, there's so many different touch points nowadays. Someone might actually just search like your site and then buy, as you know, direct from their site, right? They search for, they like type in your URL and then they buy. So what, they just bought, like they just
I
woke up
would,
one day with
I
your
would,
URL.
I would love to have this be like one of our next topics,
Oh yeah.
because then we can show the back end of Google Analytics, and that
Yes.
what you're talking about, the first and the last. I
Yeah.
didn't even know about that. So
Yeah.
it's
It's
really helpful, for
yeah, no,
sure.
it's fascinating. It's fascinating. All right. So just to wrap things up, here are
Yes.
just some tools that I think are interesting for facilitating this process. So one thing that I recently discovered, that in Canva, you can bulk upload a CSV file. So basically a spreadsheet into a template, like, so you can choose a Pinterest template, for example, and you could have like a template that you could easily obviously edit, and it could
Sure.
be for like your podcast or for your quotes or whatever. And you can bulk upload text and content, and then it will do them all for you in one sitting. And so this is incredible for this type of task, because you could sit down and you could have a VA or someone create a CSV with different snippets of information, different quotes, different statistics, you know, just like snippets from the blog, basically, and then have it go into one template or different versions of a template, and you're done. Like, you have to tweak it, but that's pretty incredible.
So
I played
exciting.
around with it a little bit. It's pretty good. I think that they're like looking at how to improve it all the time, but
Of
um
course. You can do the same thing for Instagram. So like you can take the CSV for different quotes like you're talking about. You can make a list. You can use ChatGPT. You'll want to confirm that they're actual real quotes by real
yeah.
people, because I've heard that that could be an issue. But it's still, you make the CSV, you do that, and then in one click, you can resize it for Instagram, and then you have 12 pins, 12 Instagram posts that you can then put out as you want on a scheduler. So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, it is. Then for keyword research, one of my favorite tools is called Keywords Everywhere, and it's really great to use because it's a Chrome plugin. And I think if you plug it into Pinterest, it will probably also give you maybe some insights. But it's the easiest way to get started on keyword research. It is paid, but it's very accessible. I think it's like $10
It's
for
Keywords
like,
Everywhere is free. And then there's a paid version. Like I use the free version. So every time I search for something on Google, it gives me the top keywords.
oh, cool. Yeah, it probably, yeah, maybe it just lets you do different
Paid
things.
has extra bells and whistles, but I love it and I recommend
Okay.
it all the time. I
Okay,
love
good.
that.
Okay, good. It's free. Okay, good. No, I haven't used the free version in a while because I just use it so much.
Of course.
But yeah, and then Recur Post. I mean, there's tons of these scheduling ones, but I really like Recur Post. I'm sure Jen, you have like some you recommend in your content, but I find it's easy to look at like just the parallels across your different social media platforms. And so you can share your stuff on Pinterest and across everything.
Yeah, Tailwind, which I talk about a lot, does the exact same thing. It will not only post it and schedule it for you, but it'll also resize it for you, which is like really
Incredible.
exciting too. And
Yeah.
create the graphics also.
Wow.
So it does it all in one step. It's pretty amazing. And they have a forever free plan. So I'll make sure to put that in there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so I just want to remind everybody that there's like 8.5 billion searches a day in Google. That's a lot. So even if we had a 0.0001, we would all be super great. And like, I think we'd all be doing incredible things in our business. And the idea also with what I'm here about is that you don't want to just be thinking about your site as like this, like we all seem to understand we need like a web designer or someone to create our site for us. But then that web designer, and I've talked to a lot of web developers and web designers who are like, my clients ask me about SEO and I don't do SEO. So it's like they're two different things. It's like you build a home and it's kind of like asking the architect to, I don't know, to like
To decorate.
yeah, or
Also.
to come in and clean it every day. I don't know. Like it's kind of random. Like that they don't do that. So do not expect your web developer, your web designer to do SEO. A well-designed site does have SEO principles on it, but doing SEO is what is ongoing. So this
Yeah,
is an
all the
active
time.
part of your marketing. Yes, that's ongoing. And it's the long-term, like Jen was saying before, search versus social. It's this long-term way of having people who are already looking for what you have to offer, which is pretty cool. And so that's why I created the SEO Season Society. This has been my favorite thing this year. And I'm so glad that I switched to this membership model because before I sold the course and there was kind of a community, but so far I've just had so many incredible women join and it's been so fun. So the objective of this is to not just learn SEO. So when you join the membership, you do have access to the course automatically. It's just part of what you get. So you've got a 4-step SEO methodology that's taught in the course, but there's this huge community aspect that I'm always revisiting and looking. And right now it's just like the special time because every day I reach out to people and I'm like, what do you guys think? Like Susan joined us last time. And so I was emailing her and I was like, you just joined, please give me your feedback. I want to know the good, the bad, everything, because I want to make this just like the go-to SEO place and just a
Oh,
really supportive, easy community to be part of, because I know we have a lot going on.
and anybody can learn from anybody about
Yeah.
SEO. The difference to me with this membership is that I will read something and I won't understand how maybe it applies to me or my business, or I only have this much time to give. What are the important things I need to do now versus what I can get into later? Like
Yes.
having that live access to you there's nothing else in the market right now like it, which is why I love to invite you to come talk, because everybody needs to make sure their website is optimized. Like that's not even an
Totally.
option. If you're spending time marketing, let's make sure that we're converting people, right? Not just also driving more traffic from Google.
Yeah, I really don't know an SEO course that like talks about all the things. And for a while I thought of like dumbing it down, but I really like that it's this meaty thing, this
Yes.
meaty resource that I'm updating, and I like recorded a new version last year. I'm working on updating it now. But my goal is to always update it at least yearly with new content, with new information, with what is relevant, with what's working across my students and my clients. And that's why I also have this huge live element, because I want people to come and be able to ask me questions of what's going on right now for their business and how SEO relates to that. So each month we have a live Q&A call. We have
Oh no. Cynthia? We lost Cynthia for a second. Just hold on one moment. While she's getting back on or logging back in, the thing that I love the most about the membership, which I belong to, is that Cynthia has a way of breaking down super complicated technical stuff in a way that we understand. And in these live Q&A calls, we are able to, she's going to pop on back, but in these live Q&A calls that she offers, we can say, okay, I understand this. Here's my back end. How exactly do I do that? So she can share her screen, or we can share our screen and be able to get this information for us and our business. Like, that's the thing that's missing whenever you take a course of any kind, is that sort of live interacting help, which is so important. I know she's going to pop on in a second. I'm sorry, you guys. So while she's logging back in, do you guys have any questions about SEO or SEO and Pinterest together? We have the live Pinterest challenge going on right now, so that's not a problem. But let's see. Hi, Maria. Lead magnet going to your site instead of ConvertKit. Does this mean having a menu heading page for your email list, lead magnet? Would you like, so when it talks about a lead magnet, hi there. I was like, it got stuck on stupid. I know she's coming back.
my
I
just left. Great
no
timing.
worries. No worries. So we have a question. I was
Yes.
talking about all of this. Why don't you finish out your thoughts? I gave my thoughts on why I think it's so valuable because of the screen sharing and the live Q&A calls. That's just
Yeah.
not even replaceable by any course.
Yeah, so I just quickly, so we have a community working and writing session. So this is something I just started last month, where we sit down, and we're going to switch it up because last month we did a teaching, but I think what we're going to do is each month is, well, what we're going to do, we're going to have a working session. So each month we have a theme. So this month we're working on site flow, which is basically website optimization, like how is our site converting? And so I'm inviting everybody to look at the course, but really it's a working session where you can work on anything you want SEO related on your site. And so it forces us to just sit down for an hour a month and get all our stuff done. And I promise you, an hour is so potent. It's just incredible. Like, I'm so blown away by all the progress we've made just by having that hour. Like, that's it. It's 1 hour. And then we have a writing session. So the writing session is separate, and it's for writing for SEO. And again, I've been blown away. Like, everybody has just been blogging like mad, and just, I'm not talking about tiny puny blogs that are like half-assed. No, I'm talking about incredible content that's going to serve you for years and years and years for attracting that ideal client. So the vision for this community isn't just like this theoretical place where we're talking about SEO. We're actually sitting down and getting work done. And that to me is everything, because I think that's what's missing with a lot of these courses. And that's, a lot of people are like, well, why a course? It's not a course. It's a like, let's get it done place.
Yeah, and then if you miss a session, because there's people from all over the world that are joining, right? So
Yeah,
when you miss a session, you can go on the back end and watch it.
yeah,
It is so amazing. The keyword research that we did the last month was amazing.
yeah.
You shared yours. There were some questions, I think, in that one. It is just really valuable. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then you have the membership site. So the idea is that I'm asking you, prompting you, I'm giving you additional support for stuff that comes up. And so that's really your space to ask questions between calls. And then there's, like I said, the live Q&A call to ask questions. So it's a lot. There's 3 calls each month. You don't have to come to all of them, but they're there for you. And like Jen said, everything's recorded and reshared. So you could go back and just do that call and you see me with the timer on the screen and it gets it done, right? So it's that accountability and that yeah, that visibility to get our SEO stuff in.
yeah. And I shared the link twice. You just go to that link, jenvasquezcoach.com/SEO, and it's all the way on the bottom for the membership. And if you have any questions at all, Cynthia, you're in our Facebook group, so they could tag your name and
Yes,
be
please.
able to let you know. I will also let you know if there's a question and answer it if I can. But
Yeah.
Maria has a question. She said
Yeah.
lead magnet going to your website instead of ConvertKit. Does this mean that you have to like have a menu heading or a page? Would you label the page as? I personally create it as a blog page, so I can put in all of the keywords that I want, have an image that I want for when it's being shared on Google. And then within that, I do put the description of what it is, even if they already know from the pin what they're getting. It's just a little bit, like you were saying, just a little bit more information on there, as well as the sign in page or what have you. And then also on there, I let them know as soon as you sign up, check your email because you'll get it in your email. Like whatever that process is, make sure you let them know like what the process is, because a lot of times people will just have where you put your name and your email and you're like, but what really am I signing up for? You know what I mean? So do you have any comment on that?
Yeah. So like I said, I agree with Jen. I'd say instead of having the landing page, if you have to, like that's fine. But if you can have the form actually embedded on the site, that's usually a better, it takes a little more work, but it's nicer because then someone might click back or, you just
On
have
the
them a little
homepage.
closer.
Mhm.
However, what you can do as well is, you could have a redirect going to your site after they fill out the form as well. That's like a little bit of a shortcut. So if you don't want to go and create, if you're like in a rush, which we've all been there, and you create the landing page in your ConvertKit or in your lead pages, you can have it redirect back to your site and just have it go, even if it's to the homepage. I know it feels random. It's still better than just having them like close down and then they forget about you. And the last
Yes.
thing I want to mention is that in Google Analytics, you can declare other sites. So you can basically track your lead pages kind of as part of your site. And so that's a way to
Ooh.
get a little bit of a better vision of like, how is lead pages basically part of your ecosystem of like sending traffic, but also converting traffic eventually to sales. So you can track Google lead pages traffic into your Google Analytics, and you can also say to Google Analytics, this website is not an external site, it's part of my site. So it counts it all together.
Ooh.
And so that's like a nice way, because what will happen otherwise is Google Analytics will treat it as like a referring page, just like an external page. And it's not, it's actually kind of part of it's kind of like part of your stuff, right? So that's my
Yeah.
only recommendation if you really don't want to do the embed way, which is fine, right? You just do want to just have a more accurate sense of how it's a tool that has to work for you. Like so many times we feel like we're like serving the tool and it has to be the other way around.
Yes.
How's this tool helping me? And so it's like, this is part of my site, right? Because the lead page is kind of acting like as a sales page. And so you want to make sure you have accurate data and traffic on that. Yeah, so that's my recommendation.
Perfect. Yeah, I think I need to do something like that. I didn't even know you could do that because I have the pinterestqueen.com/, like all of my stuff go there, and which adds
Yeah,
to my email list and the whole 9 yards. I have a separate Google Analytics for the pinterestqueen.com,
right.
but I would rather have it take into account on my one website. And I just didn't know
Yeah.
you could do that. That's
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah. I mean, it just depends how the setup is, because
Yeah.
you'll have to declare those because they're two different domains. But sometimes
Yeah.
it's nice to have both, like you can have it separate and together, and it's just more, I feel like it's just a more accurate, because you're basically counting it as an entry point into
Yeah.
your online platform, let's say. Yeah.
Very cool. All right. If there's any other questions, make sure you put them in the comments, even after we're done here. And especially if you have questions about the membership, please put it in as a member of her membership. I'm happy to be totally upfront and honest. Although I will tell you, I would never recommend her membership
I
if
don't
I
recommend
didn't
this
like
person, but
it. Like, I'm not
I'm
that
sure it's
person.
happened. I forgot to mention really quickly that anybody who signs from Jen's group, I put here in the slide today, but really if you're coming from Jen's group at any time, I don't want to put like false pressure because this membership isn't going anywhere. But you do get like a free audit. I would say in the next few months, because I have availability. I don't
For
know what's going to look
sure.
like. But this has been really great. Like the woman who joined last month, she got
Oh,
so much from her audit. It's just incredible. I was like blown away, and she like took that and now she's implementing it. So the audit is not something I do for everybody. It's like a quite in-depth
oh,
audit, and it gives you just like this huge stepping direction of like what you need to be doing with SEO. So you're not just like starting with like this blank slate. You actually have this PDF that I send you. And then you can ask questions that, you know, with the membership, now you ask questions that are like more relevant. So that's
and
like
how
a,
much would that normally cost? Because that is gold.
yeah, my audits are like $2,000.
I
So it's like
know, I
huge,
know.
but I
That's
really,
why, like,
yeah,
the
it's not scalable. So I wouldn't say I'm going to do this forever, but Jen, honestly, like I just really want to have more people come into the community, and I want to make it easy. I want to make it an easy yes. And at this point, I also, so this is my like my secret reason for these audits is I want to get to know everybody individually at this point in the membership. I want to have, just like I have with Jen, like just this incredible relationship where members are giving me feedback. And if they're open to that, right? Like it's not like if you want to
for
take the audit
sure.
and run with it and not ask me anything, that's totally fine too. But like I do want to just get to know everybody from my end. And so an audit is just a great way because I get to intimately, know a website and the person's business. So
And it
that's why
helps them in the
audits.
Q&A sessions because you know their business too at that point.
Yes.
So it's
Yes,
easier to
and everything.
answer. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'll tell Susan, for example, you don't have time for this. Here's an abbreviated way that I would do it. Or I would start with this first
Yeah.
instead of biting off all of this stuff because I know you don't have any time right now. Like it makes it so
It's a
much
shortcut.
easier.
It's a huge
Yeah.
shortcut. Yeah. And Susan, we ended up in the last session actually. There's a lot of other service providers in the membership, and there was a web developer, Leanne, and so she ended up helping Susan with WordPress issues. So I just love the community because we're all like helping each other. And yes, I'm the SEO expert, but I really have this vision for this space where we're all like contributing and helping each other. And so yes, please, when you sign up, reach out, we'll do the audit, and we can just get you going in the right direction so you're not kind of like not knowing what to do first or next or whatever.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I value your time so much, and having you show up like this for us in this group is just gold. And I hope everyone takes this information and runs with it. If
Yeah.
you want to make sure that you are ensuring that all of your marketing efforts are going to pay off, SEO is the place to do that.
Yeah.
Optimizing your website with SEO is the place to do that. Like, I can't, I mean, I think I've grown. I think I had like each month, maybe 80 people visiting my website. Now I'm in near 800 just
Yeah.
since I started seriously working with you over the last year. And that is a huge thing.
And you're
And
just getting
so
started. Like
I
I've
know.
seen you do, like, they're very simple, like you've done all the work, but I'm just saying, like, that's the beauty of
Tweak.
SEO. It's like tweaking. Yeah. Yeah. So powerful.
It
So
just
powerful.
does so much. All right. So if you have any questions, Maria, it is really awesome. But if you have any questions, definitely let her know, let me know, I'll let her know. Cynthia is an amazing person, but she's super busy. So tag her or let me know and I'll send the message to her an email so I can get you an answer. But we will have her back again. And we will probably be talking a little bit maybe about on the back end, I think, what you were
Google
talking about in
Analytics.
terms of,
Yeah. I
yeah,
think that's
getting
a
the
good
traffic
next
and
step.
finding out how to see which of your marketing efforts are paying off. Because we always
Yeah.
assume it's Instagram, but like for me, it's actually Pinterest. So, and I spend way more times. So these calls are not regularly scheduled. She happens to have free time right now, so I'm taking advantage of that. I don't know how long these will happen, but we will probably be doing something in October. We'll finalize a date and I will put it in the Facebook group so that you guys know when it happens. But thank you so much for asking that, Maria. She was like so excited. Oh, I think the days and times. Oh, what are the days and the times? I think the call for your membership. I think that's the question she has.
Yeah.
Misunderstood.
So they're usually Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays in the Eastern afternoon.
It's
The
in
Eastern
the
time zone. So like
midday for
4,
Pacific Standard Time.
yeah, so it's like it's usually 3 or 4 Eastern, let's say on a Wednesday or a Thursday. And so yeah, that's like noon Pacific. Yeah, as people start to join more, I will be rotating the times. But at this point, that's what's worked for a lot of people.
That,
So maybe
yeah,
at some
and
point.
honestly, I get so much value going back and watching them if I've missed it because I had a client call or something like
Yeah.
that. So I don't worry overly because you also have a place where we can ask questions and then you'll answer them whether we're on the call or not. So you can
Yeah.
still get your questions answered, which is amazing.
Yeah.
You just have to be really specific with the questions so that you know exactly what we're hoping to learn.
Yeah.
But it is really, really good. All right.
Yeah,
Thank
the
you
live
so much.
Q&A. Yeah, I just want to add the live Q&A calls have a form and you can upload screenshots and you can let me know if you want me to share the data. So that's been a big thing because a lot of people are like, I don't want to share my numbers. I'll still answer it, but I won't share the numbers. So
Yeah.
there's that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now
And then there's people like me who share all the numbers. I'm like, yeah, go right ahead. Show it all. But that is really valuable too. I forgot about that. The form is super helpful.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Cynthia, again. And we'll pick a date for October offline and
Yeah.
have a lovely day. Thanks so much for showing up for our community. We really value it. And I get a lot of feedback on how valuable it is. And I know because Susan joined the membership, she's like, oh my God, this is everything. So I'm like, yeah, it is. It's pretty cool.
Thanks, Jen. Love being here.
All right. Have a good day. Have a good day, everyone. We'll see you later.
Bye, everybody.